Dog's deed is done.
What can I say? They were the best. They really stood out. They put it all together when it counts, and that's what this sport's all about.
What a routine.
And that just may do it for Georgia here tonight.
Wow.
The Jim Dog Show is brought to you by Melwood Springs. Melwood Springs from the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Georgia.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Yocklin. Welcome to the Jim Dog Show. With me today, as always, is Associate Head Coach Jay Clark, and we just came off our last regular season competition this past weekend with another win over Iowa, and it was a great meet.
Yeah, and you know, Iowa State did not really push us, and so we had a lot of really, really highs and a lot of really, really lows, and so. But a great meet overall for the seniors. It was senior night where we were honoring our 4 seniors that were out on the floor, and one of them getting a 10, Katie, at the end of the meet was just a fantastic achievement for her.
It was, you know, it was, and as Jay said, just a lot of highs and a lot of lows, sort of bizarre in that respect. We had our all-time low on vaulting with a number of problems, and a fall from Tiffany Tolnay, which is unusual on that event, of course, actually probably her best event. And then over on uneven bars, we had 2 sort of odd falls there as well. Nikki flew over the bar, tripped on the board, and flew over the bar and sort of did a Superman dive onto the mat, which was bizarre. And then McCool had a hand slip on the bar. So the first 2 events were all over the place.
Right, it's very fluky type things that were going on. Nothing that we had ever seen happen before in the gym. You know, they weren't things that you could have predicted by any stretch of the imagination, and they weren't falls that were on any of the bigger skills in their routine. So just odd things. I think some of the emotion and build up for senior night, you know, may have been a little bit of a distraction, just took a little bit of the mental edge off. But they did straighten up and have pretty good beam set, and then finished out very strongly on floor.
And that's what I was going to say, the emotion. The emotion was huge, as it was senior night, and it's always a tradition at Georgia for us to honor our seniors at the beginning of the competition as they come out with their parents. And so, of course, we had Megan Doolin, Nikki Childs, Audrey Bowers, Katie Heenan, all come out with their parents, and also Sam Sheehan, who's been a big part of our program the last 3 years, working here in the office. She's been on a medical scholarship, but was one of the top elites in the country coming into Georgia, and has stayed with our program just working in another capacity.
Yeah, Sam, a former world medalist, has been very involved in our program, as Suzanne stated, and actually had an award named after her, the Sam Sheehan Spirit Award, and that was not just some sort of charitable thing. If you've ever been around Sam very much, you understand the kind of spirit she has and the passion that she has for our program and for gymnastics in general.
And in addition to that, also, if you follow our team during the season on GeorgiaDogs.com, the commentator who's doing the live commentating during the competitions is Sam Sheehan. So it was great to see her honored that night. And, of course, Audrey Bowers was also honored, has not been able to compete for us the last couple of years because of injuries, one after another after another. And then Megan Doolin also was honored. She was there with her parents from Texas, and she competed vaulting for us on senior night, which was great to get her back there in the lineup on vault, and also did balance beam. And then, of course, Nikki Childs. You know, she's one of the crowd favorites, one of the favorites of the Georgia fans, just because of her moonwalk on beam and her personality and her ability to dance so well on floor exercise. And she was able to compete floor exercise for the last time in Stegman Coliseum. So emotional meet for all 3 of those girls. And then, of course, Katie Heenan, who, if she had been doing 4 events all season, probably would be ranked in the top 3 in the country. But because of herniated discs, has been limited to 3 events until recently, and came out on senior night and had a career high all around. Just an incredible meet for Katie. And wow, what else? What can we say about Katie?
Well, I mean, second week in a row, she's beaten her career high. And as you stated, if she had been going in the all-around all year long, it would probably be sort of a rerun of last year, where she was ranked #1 in the all-around for most of the entirety of last year's regular season, and she's performing at that level or better, really, in some respects. She seems to be performing that much better this year, maybe in due partly to having the rest and not having to go 4 events all year long. So she looks fantastic right now.
She does, and that floor routine was absolutely a perfect 10. Everyone in the arena knew it. I mean, it was just one of those that you're just all waiting for those scores to come up, and the judges are smiling, and it was absolutely beautiful. We can't close out the conversation about this last regular season meet without talking about Grace Taylor's perfect 10 as well. 2 perfect 10s in 1 meet. Last time that happened for Georgia was 2004 in the SEC Championships. But what a great night for Grace. She also had a great night on balance beam and a career high on floor exercise. But let's get back to that bar routine and that perfect 10 of Grace's.
Well, and it came at a great time because, as you mentioned earlier, we had 2 falls before that on the just crazy mistakes that we saw from Courtney McCool and from Nikki Childs. And Grace just stepped up with a very calm, kind of serene look on her face. And you could almost see that she was going to do a very good routine. Had no idea that it would end up being a 10, but what a routine it was. And she really let that landing come to her. She'd been fighting that a lot, and we had seen her in the gym really focusing too much on trying to stick the landing. And we finally got it through her head to just let that happen on its own. And when it did, it was something magical to watch, and it was just a great routine.
It was. So with that, we're going to close out the regular season, and we're going to preview the SEC Championships, which are next weekend at the Gwinnett Center when we come back.
The Jim Dog Show is brought to you by Melwood Springs. Melwood Springs from the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Georgia. By Makar Homes. Makar Homes, built with passion for over 50 years. By Brown Arrowhead Clinic. Arrowhead Clinic, Georgia's largest spinal health care organization. By Athens Regional Medical Center. At Athens Regional, we have a specialty, you. By Phil Hughes Honda. Phil Hughes Honda, the official Honda of the Georgia Gym Dogs. By the Georgia Club. The Georgia Club, a community of neighborhoods in Bulldog Country. And brought to you by Alpha Factor. Alpha Factor, the official gymnastics apparel worn by the Georgia Gym Dogs.
Ask Suzanne, brought to you by Makar Homes. And this week's question is, what would be your ideal rotation for the SEC Championships? And our answer is, ending on the floor exercise. What fun that would be to be able to compete on floor exercise with all the fans cheering and yelling and finishing the competition with Courtney McCool. That would be awesome. That's Ask Suzanne, brought to you by Makar Homes.
Welcome back. Well, now we're going to preview the SEC Championship this week with the 7 teams from the Southeastern Conference. And Suzanne, what an amazing history and tradition. There's just a storied meet that goes on there with 7 times the champion from the Southeastern Conference has gone on to win the national championships. And a good omen for us, 6 of those have been Georgia.
That's exactly right. The SEC is so strong this year. As a matter of fact, there are 6 of the 7 teams are in the top 13 in the country. Georgia, as you know, is ranked #1 in the SEC, with Florida ranked #2. But LSU has had an incredible season this year, and they definitely are a team that's in the running. We have definitely had a lot of success in the SEC and a lot of success in Gwinnett. And actually, 2 of my favorite championships ever in my 25-year career here at Georgia were the 2004 SEC championships, when Marlene Stevens and Chelsea Bird and Corey Fritzinger, Sierra Sapinar, Kinsey Rowe were seniors. And we won the championship, and we scored 2 perfect 10s that night with Marlene Stevens on floor exercise, Corey Fritzinger on balance beam. It was an incredible evening. And then we came back in 2005 to the Gwinnett Center once again and had an unbelievable competition where Georgia went in as the #4 seed and came out as the SEC champions. As you know from earlier in the season, Courtney Kupets is out for the remainder of the season due to a torn Achilles from about 3 weeks ago. The team has adjusted well to that, though, and we came back with a 197.9 2 weeks ago. Great competition. And then this past weekend, scored the couple perfect 10s. So, you know, we are getting back to where we need to be at the championship level and ready for this incredible fight that's going to occur Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock at the Gwinnett Center. So let's now just talk about the various events and look at the vaulting event first. And vaulting has been Georgia's actually weakest and most inconsistent event the entire season. It
has. It's been an event that we've struggled to find that 5th and 6th person on. I think we've been fairly solid 4 deep, and that being Katie Heenan, Tiffany Tolnay, Marcia Newby, and before Courtney got hurt being 1, we had 5 really good scores, and then Cassidy McComb as a freshman has come on very, very strong in that event. That 5th and 6th score, we've got 4 or 5 people that are kind of in the mix there, and we're trying to really nail that down right now, and that's been the difficult spot, with Lauren Sessler sometimes looking very good, Paige Burns looking good at other times. We haven't really been able to achieve any kind of consistency, and that 5th score is going to be crucial. It really will be, and Megan Doolin also has been working really hard to get back into vaulting. The last 2 years at the national championships, she was a really key player
Claire to us winning the championships, putting up the 9-9 score on vaulting, coming in at the last minute as an alternate. So we're hoping that she can do that once again during the postseason here. And Hillary Morrow, who you alluded to, has really stepped it up in the last few weeks since Courtney Kupets' injury and has been scoring about a 9-8 on vaulting. But still, it's a problem for us. It's definitely an event that we need to be on fire on. We are number 3 in the SEC on vaulting with, I believe, LSU first on the vaulting event, and then Florida and Georgia. And LSU is led by one of the top vaulters in the country, Ashley Claire Kearney.
Ashley Claire Kearney is just an amazingly powerful athlete, both on vault and floor. And as you stated, she is the #1 vaulter in the SEC. She's currently ranked number 2 nationally. And the top 3 vaulters in the Southeastern Conference are Ashley Claire Kearney, Katie Heenan, who have both scored 10s. They're the only 2 gymnasts in the SEC to score 10 on that event. And then Kayla Hoffman from Alabama has been a very consistent performer and is certainly the kind of vaulter that is capable of scoring a 10.
So, lots to go, lots of work to do in the next couple of days. But on bars, the next event we're going to preview, we have been dominant, not only dominant in the SEC, but dominant in the country the entire season, holding the #1 ranking on the uneven bars the entire year.
Well, we've just been able to solidify a lineup in a very early part of the year where things have remained very consistent. That, accompanied by the fact that we've had so much depth over there in the training portion of our preparation, it keeps things very lively in terms of the competition and encourages everybody to be on top of their game. And I think that's been a key to the consistency that we've had on that event this year.
Absolutely. Whenever you have more athletes in the gym competing day in and day out to get into the lineup, it pushes everyone to reach a higher level. Right now on our team, our top bar workers are Katie Heenan and Grace Taylor, who, as you know from this past weekend, Grace scored a perfect 10, and Grace is ranked number 10 in the nation on the uneven bars. And Katie, I believe, is ranked number 6 on the uneven bars. So they're very, very strong. Also, Tiffany Tolnay. It's unusual because she's known for her vaulting and her tumbling. But right now, the uneven bars has been her most consistent and highest scoring event. And last week in the competition against Iowa State, she scored a 9.95.
Right. For the second week in a row, she's gone over that 9.9 mark. And really, it's all about landing for her because her handstands for a long time have probably been some of the best that we've had on our team in terms of consistently being vertical and pirouetting on top of the bar. She's always been very clean, but that blind landing on a double front has been a problem in terms of being consistent. But the last 2 weeks, she's done exceptionally well there, and it's gotten her into the top 10 nationally on that event. We also have 2 other very good teams in the SEC on this event. LSU is right behind us with an RQS of a 49.225, and then Florida just behind them. They're 6th in the nation, but they are the 3rd-ranked team in the conference on that event. We now have solidified our lineup with Nikki at the starting end, Katie at the book end on the other end. Cassidy McComb has kind of filled out that second spot that we really were having trouble deciding who was going to go through there. So a solid lineup, 6 deep there. When we come back, we'll take a look at beam and the floor exercise for the SEC championships.
Hi, my name is Keller Barks. I want to ask Courtney Kupets what sport she likes other than gymnastics.
Thanks for the question. I love all kinds of sports. Not that I know very much about any of them, but my brother plays basketball. His name is Chris, and so I've gotten really into that, and I can actually do some good free throws. It's really cool. And I'm going to start swimming myself, so I like that sport. And then football, you know, we're at Georgia, so that's a lot of fun. But, yeah, all sports are cool, not just gymnastics. But gymnastics is the most fun to do.
My name is Catherine Chanley, and my favorite thing about the Gym Dogs, when you walk into Stegman Coliseum, the air is just electric. And on top of all this fun and excitement, 8 national championships, what could make us happier?
Welcome back. Now we're going to take a look at the balance beam event, and wow, I absolutely love Georgia on the balance beam. We finally have our lineup solidified. We'll be starting out with Hillary Morrow in the lead spot, which is a freshman. We normally don't do that, but she's been so consistent. We have so much confidence in starting out with her, and then Nikki Charles will go 2nd. Tiffany Tolnay will be 3rd in the lineup for Georgia this weekend. And Grace Taylor is 4th in the lineup, and last week she scored a 9.925, and before that a 9.975. So she has really put up big scores for us. 5th in the lineup is Katie Heenan, who can stick a dismount every time. And then in the anchor position will be Courtney McCool. I love that lineup. There's no better names in the country than those girls for doing balance beam as a team, and we should be able to really, really own the balance beam this week at the championships.
And just the way they work the balance beam. You know, we had some inconsistencies early in the season that really aren't indicative of where we are now on that event. So the individual rankings of our individuals are probably not where they would have been had we not had those inconsistencies early in the season. But when I look at that beam lineup, as you stated, I see kids that can compete on the world stage on that event. They work the balance beam as good or better than anybody I've ever seen. They do the beam the way it should be done. They work on toe. There's nice rhythm throughout the routine. There's not any of this chopping the routine up into skills and really just sort of a boring look. These guys really know how to perform while they're on the balance beam, and their line and their presence is so stunning to watch.
It is. I agree with Jay entirely. The beginning of the season we had a little bit of a problem, but we are back in the #1 position in the country on balance beam. But it's interesting because Auburn is one of the top teams in the SEC on beam, with Julie Dwyer being the top gymnast in the SEC in terms of her ranking nationally. She has the highest ranking of any gymnast. So Lindsey Puckett and Julie Dwyer from Auburn are really leading the way for them on the balance beam. So it'll be interesting to watch how Auburn does on balance beam during the SEC championships. But Georgia, look out! Just let us just put one together and show you, because this team can go 49-7. 49-8 on the balance beam this weekend.
Well, we certainly believe that it's the best lineup we've had in a long time, and that's to say a lot, because last year's beam lineup was almost the same. And you mentioned Hillary going in that #1 spot, and that is unusual for us to do that with a freshman. But because she's been so steady and she's shown that she's a rock on that event and on floor, she's done a great job for us. She's shown a real fight and a real competitiveness that we like, and so she's perfect for that #1 spot.
She absolutely is. And then, of course, Courtney McCool in the anchor position. She and Grace Taylor are the only two gymnasts in the country to score 9.975 during the entire gymnastics season on the balance beam. I'm hoping for that perfect 10. You know, if Corey Fritzinger can get it in 2004, I definitely think either Grace Taylor or McCool can score a perfect 10 on balance beam before this season's over. Now, floor exercise, the fun event, the one that the fans love. And wouldn't it be great if we finished on floor?
It would be. And floor is one of the events. We ranked #1 in the nation on 3 events, and floor being one of them, with Courtney McCool sort of leading the charge on that event. She's ranked #1 nationally on that event. And it's a very strong event for us, sort of deceptively strong, because in years past you might think of floor as being the best floor team, of having the big double layouts and all the power tumbling. We've got a mix on this team that combines a little bit of power, a lot of great dance, a little bit of finesse. We've got some twisters on the team. It's really kind of a smorgasbord of all the skills that you would hope to see on floor. And I think that that's why the judges have liked our routine so much, because we show so much variety on this event.
We really do, and it starts right out with our leadoff performer on floor, who is Abby Stack, and she does a triple twist to start out, ends with a double pike, a D-level skill. So when that's your first routine up, you know, that's impressive. And then we go from her to Grace Taylor, that's got a completely different look, and people love to watch her. Her dance and her style and her flexibility is just beautiful on floor exercise. And then from her we go to Cassidy McComb, who's a classical dancer but a very explosive tumbler. So that, like Jay says, there's a big mix, different quality of athletes in terms of styles that they use and different types of music. And then in the end, we come up with 3 gymnasts that can score the really big scores: Tiffany Tolnay, Katie Heenan, and Courtney McCool, who, by the way, has been ranked #1 on floor exercise for 9 weeks in a row. Courtney McCool.
Yeah, just an amazing routine. And the technical part of her routine, when you watch it, and we've talked about it all year on this show and any chance we can, just her technique is so impeccable. It's amazing that she's got that kind of form and line on everything, and we've credited her club coaches for that over and over and over again. Just what an incredible athlete she is to watch, because they don't do them much more perfect than that. She finishes with an E-level pass, as do all of our gymnasts finish with a D or an E-level tumbling pass, which I think is a good indicator of the stronger floor teams in the nation.
Absolutely, but it's interesting because floor exercise is the event that is represented well from top athletes from a lot of the schools in the SEC. You've got Courtney McCool, the #1 ranked gymnast in the country on floor exercise, is #1 obviously in the SEC. And then Morgan Dennis, who's the defending national champion on floor exercise, #4 in the country on floor exercise from Alabama. And then you've Corey Hartung from Florida, is one of the other top gymnast in the country that you can watch on Floor Exercise, and she's number 6 in the country. Ashley Claire Kearney is number 8 in the country. She's from LSU. Susan Jackson from LSU, number 6 in the country, and Amanda Castile from Florida, number 12 in the country. Katie Heenan, also in the top in the country. So it's just interesting how a lot of schools are represented with top athletes on Floor Exercise. This will be an exciting event to watch.
And when we come back, we'll conclude with a quick look at the individual all-arounders that are in the SEC.
Routine of the Week, brought to you by Athens Regional Medical Center. And this week we have Routines of the Week because there are 2 of them. Grace Taylor on the uneven bars scores the perfect 10. And Katie Heenan on the Floor Exercise, another perfect 10. Routines of the Week, brought to you by Athens Regional Medical Center.
Countdown to the NC2As brought to you by Melwood Springs, and you can see that Utah and Florida flip-flop again, with Utah moving into the number 2 spot, Florida in the number 3 spot. 6 of the 7 Southeastern Conference teams are currently ranked in the top 13, and that's Countdown to the NC2As brought to you by Melwood Springs.
Well, in closing, we'd like to also talk about the individual all-around winner. At the SEC Championships, there'll be an all-around winner, there'll be an all-SEC team, there'll be an Athlete of the Year, and an Athlete of the Week. Katie was the SEC Athlete of the Year and all-around winner last year. Right now, she's not ranked in the top in the country because she hasn't competed enough times to have a ranking. But her average in the all-around, 39.7, better than anyone else in the country. She is on a roll, and my prediction is Katie Heenan will win the SEC title.
Well, she's certainly my favorite. I mean, I'm not a little biased, I think, but she's definitely the kind of athlete that can go out and dominate a competition like this, particularly if she's feeling good, and right now she does. And going out there, she's only had 3 meets, but she's gone 39.6, 39.725, and 39.775, with the highest RQS in the nation being somewhere in the 39.4 or 5 range. So she's certainly on pace with the rest of them, and could be one of those top gymnasts in the individual all-around competition.
She absolutely can. But watch for Julie Dwyer in the all-around, Amanda Castile, and Cassie Price from Alabama has had a great season doing all 4 events. So any of those girls really are in a position where they could end up with the all-around title this weekend. But it is a team competition. Yeah. Team comes first, and make no mistake about it, Georgia is going over to Gwinnett Center on Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock to compete for our 16th SEC title.
And a dark horse in the all-around, Tiffany Tolnay.
And a dark horse in the all-around, Tiffany Tolnay. We'll see you next week with the results from the SEC Championships in Duluth, Georgia.
The Gym Dog Show has been brought to you by Melwood Springs. Melwood Springs from the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Georgia. By Makar Homes. Makar Homes, built with passion for over 50 years. By Brown Arrowhead Clinic. Arrowhead Clinic, Georgia's largest spinal healthcare organization. By Athens Regional Medical Center. At Athens Regional, we have a specialty, you. By Phil Hughes Honda. Phil Hughes Honda, the official Honda of the Georgia Gym Dogs. By the Georgia Club. The Georgia Club, a community of neighborhoods in Bulldog Country. And brought to you by Alpha Factor. Alpha Factor, the official gymnastics apparel worn by the Georgia Gym Dogs.